One thing that stood out to us throughout your book is how we have become an I generation as opposed to a we generation. Can you expand on this and share how we can practically shift from I to we?
Yeah. You know, when I tried to understand what the Lubavitcher Rebbe was doing, it was something extraordinary because nobody had ever done this before. Nobody in the whole history of Judaism had ever done an outreach campaign before, with the possible exception of Rabbi Moses of Coucy in France in the 14th century in relation to mezuzah and tefillah. That was the only precedent we could find. And I was thinking to myself, you know, Jews for 20, 30 centuries held back from this. And why did the Rebbe not? And I suddenly realized at a certain point that there was a kind of arithmetic here. Imagine you have a certain amount of wealth or power. You have, let's say, $1,000, and you decide to share that with 9 other people. How much do you have left? Answer, 1/10 of what you began with. You have total power. You decide to share that with 9 other people. How much do you have left? 1/10 of the power with which you began. But if you are dealing with something else, like love or friendship or trust or even knowledge, and you share that with 9 other people, how much do you have? You don't have less. You may have more. You may even have 10 times as much. And I suddenly realized that is the difference between material goods and spiritual goods. Material goods, the more you share, the less you have. But spiritual goods, the more you share, the more you have. And that is why material goods, wealth, and power lead to competition. I don't want to have less, I want to have more. And therefore you have these 2 arenas in society for competition. One is the market economy, the competition for wealth. The other is the political system, the competition for power. And when it's competition, it's all about I. It's all about self-interest. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But society needs something else as well. It needs an arena of cooperation. It needs an arena in which we are concerned with other people's interests, not just ours, where we really think as a we. And the truth is, all the spiritual goods are like that. Friendship, love, influence, knowledge, etc., etc. And that is what I call morality. Morality is whenever I say somebody else's interests count as much as mine. That's called altruism. And what's happened is we always had such a thing. It's just in the last half century we've lost it. We've really lost it. So that all that really matters today is economics and politics, and forget the rest. We're in a competition for wealth and power, and don't bother me with other people who need something, because let them go to the government for it.
Right.
And that is a total and absolute disaster. So, you know, I suddenly realized the Rebbe understood this as far as Judaism was concerned. Chabad is all about we. I embrace you, even though you're not like me. You may keep less than me, you may know less than me, it doesn't matter. You're part of this collective us. I'm going to share my Judaism, and the more I share, the more I have. And likewise, in general with society, I am going to share my concern with the common good, and the end result will be the more I share, the more we will have. And you won't get something like Black Lives Matter, when a whole group of people feel we are left out, and ditto Hispanics and ditto who knows what. You will get a situation in which people will realize we are part of something that's bigger than us, but which cares for us.
Yeah, I think the Rebbe also went even further in that he helped us take the physical elements and elevate them into spiritual realms.
Oh, 100%.
And giving tzedakah and, you know, the tangible goods that we have, if we give those away, then we elevate them in the spiritual realm, and we can, you know, and that brings more tzedakah, and that brings more blessings into our lives.
A lot of medical research on this, that giving is a fundamental way of getting healthier. It strengthens the immune system. It combats depression. An enormous amount of research, medical research in the last 10 years, that when you give, you gain more than you give.
Yes.
You had, no, in relation to the I and the we, and how we can practically shift from I to we to more of the we. How you had shared, I had heard you share that one of the ways to do that is by sharing our stories. What other way, like sharing in general, like we share the Pesach story at the Seder, you had mentioned Hamilton, by people sharing their stories, that helps shift to the we. Can you expand on that, and how else?
I'll
Is there any
I'll
other
tell
way?
you something. I'll tell you something. This is one of the more unusual things I ever did. It took place in 1974 or 1975. I can't remember when, but either one of those years. The smicha class of Jews College Rabbinical Seminary of Britain, and the top class of Montreux Yeshiva, I don't think it exists anymore, but it did then, engaged in Switzerland, halfway up a mountain, with a group of African bishops to fight anti-Semitism in Africa. And so we're halfway up a mountain, and we have these 3 days of interfaith dialogue. It was very rare for me to take part in them, but this one, my own teacher thought I ought to do it. And it was very cognitive. That, you know, the word cognitive, it's the English word for boring. And and so I thought to myself, you know, this is great. You know, we're all giving each other lectures, but nothing's really changing. So I, on the last night, I arranged with the bishops and the bocharim that we were going to have a febreng. And the African bishops didn't know what a febreng is. And I explained, we brought in some vodka, some whiskey, some cake. And I said, we are going to tell you our stories. And then you are going to tell us your stories. And you are going to teach us your songs. And we are going to teach you our songs. We sat there from 10 in the evening till 3 in the morning. And then we danced around the room. And I suddenly realized this incredible power of sharing stories and sharing songs that allowed us to bridge what was, in every sense, a major cultural abyss. You know, these people, we couldn't have been less alike. But because we had songs we shared and stories we shared, we really reached this beautiful, beautiful, serene moment that was probably life-changing for most of the people there.
Yeah, you mentioned people not like us are just like us. And that's very much related to this story of recognizing that we're more alike than we are different, and bridging the divide that we're experiencing today that seems to be getting worse and worse by sharing our common ground and talking to each other, even if we feel like we don't have anything in common. It's likely that we have a lot more in common than we think. Rivkah, do you agree?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Rabbi Sacks had shared a quote. What was the quote again? Hold on a second. It reminded me of that, of people not like us are just like us. We're
all alike in that we are different.
We are all different in that we are all the same, and that we are all the same in that we are all different.